By November of last year, a court officer pressed a ring of keys into my hand and said, "These are yours." He meant the house I had funded, the home my parents tried to take out from under me. That was the day the lock that kept me out became the proof that let me in. I am Madison Holloway, 32, a finance director in Boston. My job is turning messy numbers into clean decisions. I grew up believing that family guilt is the tax you pay for success, that being the responsible daughter means you smile, you pay, and you do not make a scene. I know better now. What they did not know was that for 26 months I had been quietly building a case. I documented every transfer, every repair, every emergency I was told was mine to solve. I tracked 40% of my total compensation, about $520,000 a year, flowing out in careful lines. By the time I was done, the support added up to roughly $450,000. Love is love. Proof is proof. I kept both. If you have ever been the reliable one, the fixer, the person everyone calls when the Wi-Fi dies and the bill is due, tell me where you are watching from. I want to hear your city. I want to know your version of the story because I promise you are not alone. Here is the cast. My mother is Patricia. Everyone calls her Pat. She has a talent for cutting with compliments. My younger brother is Tyler Goldenchild, big smile, soft landing. I am the one with the color-coded calendar, the one who files the taxes on time, the one who says, "Send me the bill, I will handle it." Here is the world. Boston winters, South Shore summers, a family group chat named Family Dinner with 24 people in it, where casserole recipes and financial grenades live side by side. We are the kind of family that throws a baby shower in Newton with a lemon theme and a rented photo backdrop, and we are the kind of family where a single text can turn a celebration into a siege. Here is what I sacrificed. Looking back, it started as flares, a gas bill, a copay, a late fee that needed to disappear. The flares became weather. I covered property taxes when my dad forgot a deadline. I paid for a new roof after a windstorm peeled shingles like paper. I installed a thermostat and a Wi-Fi mesh so my mother could stream her shows without buffering. I added her as a supplemental user on my credit card so she would not feel embarrassed buying gifts for cousins. Every decision felt small and kind. Small and kind is how you hide a mountain. Here is how I kept score without making it a war. I created a Google Drive folder called Household Stabilizations. In it, lived 26 months of bank exports receipts from contractors and a simple dashboard that even a sleep-deprived executive could absorb. 3 tabs, 3 colors, no drama. I am not a genius. I am disciplined. Discipline is underrated until it saves your life. And here are the 3 hints that will matter later. 1, I installed a Ring doorbell on my parents' porch because I am the person who does that kind of thing, and because I believed security is an act of love. 2, the family dinner chat held more than jokes. It held timestamps and tone, and one day it would host the most humiliating sentence my mother ever sent me. 3, Dana Whitmore, a friendly neighborhood realtor, once joked with me about clean title over iced coffee. I did not know then that clean title would become my hill to hold. I am not going to pretend I did not enable this. I did. I wore the label responsible like a medal and forgot that medals can turn into shackles when you never take them off. There is a version of me who believed money could repair the past if I poured enough of it into the cracks. I like her. She tried. But I am not her anymore. This is not a shouting story. It is a paperwork story. It is about how, on a sunny afternoon in Newton, the ordinary moment shattered, and how I chose a life-saving decision instead of a meltdown. It is about what happens when you stop arguing with people who rewrite history and start documenting the future instead. If that sounds cold, it is not. It is clear. Clarity is a kind of mercy. And this is where we begin an ordinary family milestone. A shocking interruption. A choice to stay calm, and a promise that a dark truth is about to surface. In a moment, I will show you the sacrifice pattern that made their betrayal possible and how I kept smiling while my savings bled out. Then we will peel back the first breadcrumb. But first, know this. I am telling this story in my voice with my receipts, and the tone is calm, because calm is what power sounds like when you stop apologizing. So let's talk about the pattern, not the drama, not the headlines, the pattern. because patterns are how you get from one small favor to a life you do not recognize. It started the way storms always start in New England, with a sky that pretends to be harmless, a gas bill that somehow slipped past my parents and landed with a late fee. $98. I paid it and texted a smiley face because I had just become a finance director, and it felt good to help. A week later, a copay for an urgent care visit. $42 and change. I told myself, this is what daughters do. You show up, you smooth edges, you do not make it a thing. Looking back now, I see the slope. When that tiny gas bill did not break anything, a bigger ask felt reasonable. Property taxes, my dad said I thought I set up autopay. The penalty is ugly. I moved $2,000 that afternoon and put a reminder on my own calendar for their future due dates, because that is what my brain does. It builds guardrails around other people's gaps. The favors multiplied. A slow leak under the kitchen sink turned into a plumber's visit. $450 paid by my card. A water heater that died the week before Christmas demanded a rush replacement. $2,800 plus hot chocolate for the installers because my mother could not find cash, and I always have a card. I crawled behind their television to reboot a router, then replaced the router, then added a Wi-Fi mesh and a smarter thermostat because I believed better tech equals fewer frantic calls. If you were raised as the problem solver, you know this well. You throw solutions at anxiety the way a chef throws salt at bland pasta water. It is fast, it works, and no one questions it until the bag is empty. When my total compensation hit about $520,000, I formalized the help. I took on a reliable share of the mortgage so their month-to-month would not wobble. 40% of my income went home, $208,000 a year. I justified it 6 ways. 1, I travel for work, I can afford it. 2, they gave me everything they could. It is my turn. 3, stability beats chaos, and I have the means to buy stability. Looking back now, I hear how tidy that sounds. Tidy can be dangerous when it hides a wound. The ledger grew without me calling it a ledger. I opened a folder in Google Drive named Household Stabilizations and started dropping evidence in like it was confetti at the world's dullest parade. Bank exports month by month, receipts in neat stacks, photos of the new roof after a windstorm peeled shingles off like they were Post-it notes. That roof $12,000 down, then staged payments that totaled more than $20,000, windows that leaked in a nor'easter, an $8,000 deposit, then more. A carpenter to rebuild the back stairs after a cousin slipped $2,300. A painter to redo the living room because my mother said the old color felt sad. $1,400 and me holding a ladder because the painter was late and I cannot watch a project stall without jumping in. I added my mother as a supplemental user on one of my credit cards so she could buy gifts without humiliation. I told her use it for family birthdays, do not stress. She kissed my cheek. She called me her lifesaver. The first month was small, $112. The holiday months were not. Looking back now, I can see the line where generosity turned into structure, and the line where structure turned into expectation. Those lines are thin when you love people who are used to being rescued. The family dynamic made it easy to rationalize. Tyler, my younger brother, is sunshine with a short attention span. He was always the golden child. If he missed a deadline, my mother laughed and said, "Your brother is too creative for paperwork." If I missed a deadline, it meant something was wrong with me. So I did not miss deadlines. I built a reputation out of competence, and the family learned to use that reputation like a credit line. When Tyler wanted wheels, the conversation did not start at "Can Tyler afford a car?" It started at "Madison, your insurance rate is better. Can we put him on your policy for a year or 2? Then "Madison, can you co-sign because the dealer said it would lower the monthly payment?" Later, the word co-sign became a joke because I had learned how to say no to loans, but not soon enough to avoid my name appearing on a title once for insurance purposes only, not the loan, the title. I had not realized yet how a harmless signature can become a lever in the wrong hands. That detail will matter later. I wish it did not, but it will. At holidays, the script was rehearsed. I would arrive with bakery boxes and a spreadsheet in my head. My mother would pour wine and tell the room my latest promotion as if it were a family trophy. Tyler would say, if I wanted to do what Maddie does, I just choose happiness. Everyone laughed. I laughed too because it seemed mean not to, and because I did not want to be the serious one again. Looking back now, every joke was a little receipt. The ledger was not only money, it was tone. Callie, my best friend, saw it early. She is a reporter, the anchor in my life, who wraps truth in kindness. She would ask, "Are you keeping track?" not to scold me, but to hand me a mirror. Evan, my colleague. The validator asked a different question. If this were a client, what would you advise? I always had a crisp answer for clients. I did not have one for myself yet. That gap is where families can grow their favorite myths. The months clicked by. 26 months of support, roughly $450,000 in total, 70% of what any rational person would have saved by then. I remind you of that sum not to brag or to paint myself as a martyr, but because the math explains the next choices. It explains why a court later cared. Courts do not rule on vibes. They rule on evidence. There were sweet moments that kept me in the loop. My dad calling to say the basement no longer smelled like damp cardboard after the sump pump replacement. My mother texting a heart after a grocery delivery hit the porch on a snow day. Tyler posting a photo of brunch with a caption about family blessings and his wristwatch catching the light. I kept telling myself I was investing in peace. I did not see that I was financing leverage against myself. Looking back now, that phrase keeps showing up because it is the only honest way to talk about long patterns. Looking back now, the 3 biggest breadcrumbs were sitting in plain sight. 1, that Ring doorbell, which I installed because I am the person who sets up the tech. 2, the family dinner chat, 24 relatives deep a messy archive of small nothings, and eventually one very loud something. 3, a conversation with Dana Whitmore, a neighborhood realtor with a friendly laugh, who once told me over iced coffee that clean title makes everything easier. She meant it as general advice. I heard it as trivia. I would hear it again as a warning. There were also the phrases my mother used that did not sound like warnings until later. "We will handle it, sweetheart. We have it covered. We will take it from here." At first, those lines felt like relief. Finally, I thought they are taking responsibility. Later, I learned the grammar mattered. We did not include me. If you are keeping track, here is the emotional ledger alongside the financial one. Pride balanced guilt. Love balanced exhaustion. Hope balanced willful blindness. And under those, a steady drum of rationalizations. I do not have kids yet. I can afford it. I am paying forward. I am preventing a crisis. It is easier if I do it. Every one of those sentences can be true and still be a trap. I want to be fair to the earlier version of myself. She was not stupid. She was loyal. She believed that putting out fires was a way to keep a home warm. She did not understand yet that some people learn to love the warmth without learning to tend the fire. Looking back now, that may be the most painful part. Not the money, the lesson. And to be fair to my parents, I believe they told themselves a story too. In their story, I am wildly competent, borderline indestructible. In their story, help does not hurt me. It flows through me like water through a pipe. In their story, the house exists because of me, so of course I will always maintain it. The problem is, stories become policy when nobody questions them, and policy becomes entitlement when nobody sets a boundary. I kept smoothing, paying, fixing. I did not know that a sunny afternoon in Newton would turn all those small kindnesses into weaponized gratitude. I did not know a single text could collapse 26 months of support into one brutal sentence. I did not know yet, but I was about to. In a moment, I will show you the first crack that let the truth in a family milestone, a lemon-themed backdrop, a whisper that was not meant for me, and a text that felt like a locked door across my ribs. Before that, one more looking back now. Looking back now, I can see the mistake I kept making. I treated love like a subsidy, not a relationship. Subsidies can be cut. Relationships need consent. When you confuse the two, you make it very easy for someone else to confuse ownership with access. Hold that thought. Keep the ledger in mind. Keep the Ring doorbell in mind. Keep the family dinner chat in mind. Because the next part is where suspicion stops being a feeling and starts becoming a file. Suspicion stopped being a feeling and started becoming a file on a Saturday in Newton under a lemon yellow banner and a rented photo backdrop. It was my cousin's baby shower. Backyard white folding chairs, mason jars with paper straws. The family dinner group chat, 24 relatives deep, was buzzing about cupcakes and centerpieces. I showed up with non-alcoholic cider because not everyone drinks, and because I am the person who thinks about edges. My mother, Patricia Pat, worked the patio like a hostess on television. Tyler told jokes. Everyone glowed. Breadcrumb 1 landed while people were cooing over a onesie shaped like a lemon. I caught Tyler leaning toward my aunt, voice pitched low, casual in the way only rehearsed lines sound. After the power of attorney, the deed will be easy. 9 words. A chill. I turned like I had misheard. He was already grinning for a group photo. I filed it under, maybe I am being dramatic. That is the trap when you have been called dramatic. You cross-examine yourself before you question the facts. Breadcrumb 2 arrived 10 minutes later. Dana Whitmore, the neighborhood realtor with the friendly laugh, was chatting about the market. She said in this zip code clean title still moves. She was not talking about my parents' place. It was a general comment. But the phrase lodged like a splinter. Clean title. Why was title in my head at a baby shower? I helped carry gifts inside. The kitchen smelled like vanilla and lemon rind. My mother squeezed my arm and said, "We have it covered, sweetheart." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to hand off the mental load and just be a daughter for once. Breadcrumb 3 detonated that night in the family dinner chat where casseroles and chaos share the same thread. A message from my mother popped up for 24 relatives to see. Changed all the locks. Come home and see. Then a grin sticker. It read like a dare and felt like a door closing inside my chest. I stared at the screen until the words went blurry. Then I took a breath and did the thing I do when panic tries to take the wheel. I called Evan. Evan Park is my colleague and my validator, the friend who translates adrenaline into action. He picked up on the first ring. "Do not confront," he said. Voice calm, metronome steady. "Document. Pull your bank exports. Pull the ring clips. This is important. We will line up the facts before we line up the feelings." So I drove to my parents' house with an overnight bag and a lime green toolbox because old habits are stubborn. The porch light was on. The keypad blinked like it had forgotten me. No code worked. The Ring camera watched me try and fail and step back. 2 houses down the neighborhood, Cat paused like a tiny ref and then kept walking. I did not bang. I did not call. I let the camera record me leaving because the story needed clean edges. In the Ring app, an earlier clip waited like a loaded sentence, 2 days before the party. My mother and Tyler on the porch, voices low, words careful. Temporary authorization. Agent. Once it is in our names. Not in our as in mine and theirs. In ours as in theirs. The clip ended with my mother saying Madison will be fine. She always is. I felt heat climb my neck. Not anger yet, not grief. The feeling before both when your body knows the truth and your mind tries to catch up. I went to Callie's apartment instead of picking a fight at midnight. I sat at her kitchen island and opened my laptop. Before I called any lawyer, before I sent any message, I did the thing my job trained me to do. I built the file. First, the money. I exported 26 months of bank transfers. Line by line, I labeled every support payment and repair. 40% of my total compensation, about $520,000 a year, had gone home. That is $208,000 a year. Over 26 months, the support added up to roughly $450,000. Not a typo. Not a vague estimate. A number I could show a judge without blinking. I added line items because details matter. Roof-staged payments totaling more than $20,000. Windows deposits and balances crossing $8,000. Water heater, $2,800. Backstair rebuild after a fall, $2,300. Painter, $1,400. Grocery deliveries on snow days. Utility payments when autopay failed on their end. A supplemental card for my mother, so birthdays did not become shame. Love as ledger. Breadcrumb 4 slid in through the side door while I was sorting receipts. A shared family cloud folder pinged an update. The name looked harmless, taxes 2024. Inside, among W-2 scans and donation receipts, sat a PDF labeled Draft POA. I should not have had access. Someone had toggled permissions without understanding them. I clicked. On the screen, a drafted power of attorney naming my father as principal, my mother as agent, and Tyler as successor agent with authority boxes checked for certain property transactions. A notary block waited at the bottom with a date the following week. If you have never felt your heart and your head hit the same conclusion at the exact same time, it is like a bell inside you finally getting permission to ring. There it was. Not a feeling, not a family shrug, a plan. I took screenshots. I saved the PDF. I noted the metadata because metadata tells its own truth. Creation date, modification date, who touched it last. I did not guess. I did not assume. I wrote it down. Breadcrumb 5. Because in a story like this, you collect them every few minutes was a text from Dana after the party. Random thought she wrote, if your folks ever need a referral for a title attorney, I know a great one. It was kind. It was also accidental confirmation that conversations were happening without me. I did not respond. The urge to be polite is a powerful drug. I let it pass. By dawn, the file was a living thing. Ring transcripts exported, bank spreadsheets cleaned, screenshots of the family chat saved, including the lock message and the grin sticker complete with timestamps and audience count. I stapled my sanity to those timestamps. When people start rewriting history, dates are an antidote. If you are listening and whispering to yourself, confront them. I hear you. I wanted to. But here is the shift. I was done auditioning for the role of reasonable daughter in a play I did not write. I was done giving them the scene they wanted me flailing them, soothing the mediator, later calling it a miscommunication. This is the part where I moved from suspicion to certainty without giving anyone a chance to flip the script. One more breadcrumb, because every 60 seconds matters in a discovery spiral. I opened my email and found an automated notice from my bank flagging unusual activity on a joint savings account I had opened years earlier for emergencies and never used for myself. A small transfer out, not huge, small enough to look like nothing, big enough to prove access I had not authorized. I froze the account and took a screenshot of the freeze confirmation, not to act yet, to preserve the state of the world exactly as it was. Then I called Evan back. He listened without interrupting while I laid out the numbers, the ring clip, the shared PDF, the lock text. He said 3 sentences. You have enough. You are not crazy. Next step is counsel. I looked at the clock. I looked at the folder. I looked at the lemon yellow ribbon still tied to my wrist from the party. That was the moment suspicion became certainty. Not because of one gut punch, because a pattern I had been funding finally introduced itself with paperwork. In a minute, I will tell you about the morning I sat across from a litigator and slid that file across a walnut table. I will tell you how a calm voice and a few Latin phrases changed the temperature of my entire life. But before the law, there was this choice: no confrontation, no theatrics, no more begging people who benefit from your confusion to clarify their intentions. Just facts, just timestamps, just the quiet math of what happened and when. That is how betrayal becomes visible. Not as a shout, as a spreadsheet. I did not sleep. I watched the sky lighten over Boston while the folder on my laptop filled with proof. By dawn, suspicion had a spine. Before I called anyone, I needed one more thing, the moment when your body and your brain agree on the same truth. That is the switch you flip once. After that, you do not go back. I drove to Newton while the streets were still quiet. The lemon ribbon from the shower was still tied to my wrist, frayed at the end where someone had tugged it into a bow. The house looked ordinary in the way a stage looks ordinary before a curtain rises. I stood at the edge of the driveway and let my flats sink into the loose gravel. Somewhere a sprinkler ticked. Somewhere a neighbor's dog announced the morning. The air smelled like wet stone and cut grass. It felt almost unfair that the world could be this calm while my family plotted a transfer of power like it was a casual errand. This is where the 3-layer reveal clicked into place. Surface first. The lock text. Changed all the locks. Come home and see. The grin sticker. That was not miscommunication. That was a move. Take away access, provoke a scene, call it drama when I react, then use the reaction as proof. I cannot be trusted with decisions. If you have lived inside someone else's narrative, you know that playbook. Create chaos, assign blame, keep control. Deeper next. The conspiracy. Not a thriller word, a legal one. A drafted power of attorney sat inside a shared family folder because someone toggled cloud permissions wrong. It named my father as principal, my mother as agent, and Tyler as successor agent with boxes checked for specific property powers. A neighborhood realtor had mentioned clean title in passing, and later texted me unprompted about a great title attorney if my folks ever needed a referral. Meanwhile, a small transfer flickered out of a joint savings account I had opened for emergencies and never touched for myself. Each piece alone could be explained away. Together, they formed a straight line drawn under the house with me on the wrong side of it. Then the pattern, the part my heart already knew. The months I had funded repairs and taxes, the quieter moments when my mother said we will take it from here, and I mistook that for relief. The way Tyler joked about choosing happiness while I quietly chose responsibility. The way I allowed my reputation to become the family's revolving door. None of that made me guilty. It made me useful. And usefulness, when you never set a price, invites entitlement. I stood there and let all three layers stack the act, the plan, the history. I did not cry. I did not narrate it to myself like a movie. I just breathed until the facts settled into place like dishes in a cabinet. The wind lifted the lemon ribbon on my wrist and it brushed my skin. My hands stopped shaking. This is important. Awakening is not rage. Awakening is clarity. It is the moment you realize you are not a character in their story anymore. You are the author of the next chapter. So I made a quiet decision that felt like stepping onto dry land after treading water far too long. No confrontation, no late-night calls that could be spun as hysteria, no more giving away the advantage of surprise. From this point forward, every action would be deliberate, documented, and boring enough to survive a courtroom. I drove back to Boston and opened the folder again, not to feed my anger, but to organize. The ring clip with the line, "Once it is in our names," sat next to the lock text with a timestamp and the grin sticker. The bank exports showed 26 months of support, 40% of my compensation, adding up to roughly $450,000 in payments and improvements. The receipts for the roof, the windows, the water heater, the stairs, the paint, each labeled with dates and amounts. The cloud PDF of the draft power of attorney saved with metadata intact. The small transfer out of the old joint account frozen with a confirmation screenshot. Every file named every date written out in words, so a judge would not need to squint. I also made a separate note for something that had felt harmless when it happened, and now looked like a lever. Years back, for insurance reasons, only my name had landed on a vehicle title. Not the loan, only the title. I had refused to co-sign financing. That difference matters. It would matter later. I did not yet know how precisely, but I knew enough to mark it. Then I did the smallest thing that changed the most. I wrote a one-page summary in plain language, not a rant, a narrative anchored to facts. It began with the timeline of support and improvements. It moved to the lockout and the group message. It laid out the discovered draft power of attorney and the realtor's comment about title. It ended with the sentence, "Any litigator wants to read all evidence preserved with original timestamps and unaltered files available on request." I was not trying to sound impressive. I was trying to be clear. As the sun burned through the morning haze, I let myself feel what clarity feels like. It is not triumph. It is not even relief. It is more like quiet. The kind of quiet you get when a storm finally leaves and the power clicks back on. I made tea. I put my phone face down. I sketched the bones of a plan that did not depend on anyone's conscience. 3 steps, 3 words. Preserve, file, protect. Preserve meant every screenshot exported with visible dates, every receipt scanned, every video backed up in 2 places, one of them offline. It meant writing down who had said what and when not because I needed to remember, but because opposing counsel would one day ask. File meant finding counsel who lived in this world, who understood equitable remedies, and where constructive trust and equitable lien live in the law. Not a generalist. A person who could hear the word lis pendens and not need a primer. I had never said those phrases out loud for my own life before. I whispered them anyway, just to feel the edges. Constructive trust, equitable lien, lease pendants. They felt like tools, not threats. Protect meant immediate containment without theatrics. Freeze the old joint account, change passwords, enable two-factor on anything that touched money or identity, audit every place where I had ever been the helpful one who created logins for convenience. Helpful is a beautiful word until it gets used as a crowbar. The ribbon on my wrist brushed my skin again. I untied it and set it on the counter. I was done letting a party theme narrate my mood. Then I checked my watch and did the next right thing. I found a Boston litigator whose bio read like a table of contents for my situation. Property disputes, title clouds, equitable remedies. I drafted an email with my one-page summary and the list of attachments, then stopped and called instead. When the receptionist answered, my voice was steady. I have a documentation package regarding family-funded property improvements, a recent lockout, and a drafted power of attorney I discovered through a cloud folder error, I said. I believe a constructive trust may apply. I would like to schedule a consult. That was it. No adjectives, just nouns and verbs. While I waited for a callback, I walked to the window and watched the harbor wake up. Tugboats pulled in lines. The sky went from gray to a bright, almost unreasonable blue. It reminded me of the driveway earlier, of how the world had the nerve to be beautiful while my life changed shape. I did not resent the blue. It helped to see something uncomplicated. Callie texted a heart and a coffee cup emoji, and I smiled, then put the phone back down. Evan sent a message with 3 words. Paper beats noise. I typed back, paper beats noise, and silence both. Then I shut the laptop for a beat and let my shoulders drop. If you have ever waited to see whether your life will tilt toward chaos or toward order, you know this hour. You clean a counter that is already clean. You line up things that are already straight. You practice the version of yourself who will sit across from a lawyer and talk like a grown woman about how to take her life back without burning it down. 3 hours later, the callback came and the appointment was set. The walnut table, the measured questions, the Latin phrases, the plan that is next. But the revelation happened here in the space between the driveway and the first consult. The surface betrayal named itself. The deeper plan exposed its paperwork. The pattern admitted how long it had been rehearsed, and I made a choice I could live with. No more begging for clarity, no more performing calm while people pocketed what I paid for. From now on, my tone would match my proof. What they did not know, and what I finally understood, was this: I do not have to fight loud to win. I only have to fight true. In a moment, I will walk you into that office, slide the file across the table, and show you how truth turns into filings. Filings turn into leverage, and leverage turns into keys. I walked into the law office carrying a binder that could stand up on its own. Walnut table, legal pads, a litigator with a calm voice and sleeves neatly rolled. I slid the one-page summary across, then the files, ring transcript, group chat, screenshots, bank exports showing 26 months of support receipts for the roof windows, water heater stairs paint, and the draft power of attorney accidentally shared in the cloud. We are not here to vent, I said. We are here to remedy. She nodded once and translated my life into law. We file a lis pendens to cloud the title so the house cannot be sold or transferred. We plead constructive trust and an equitable lien because you maintained and improved the property at significant cost. We request a temporary order that preserves status quo and blocks further interference. All communication moves through counsel, no direct contact. It felt like someone had finally put handrails on a staircase I had been climbing in the dark. I spent that afternoon executing containment. I froze the old joint savings account and saved the freeze confirmation. I turned off my mother's supplemental card with a formal notice sent through the attorney. I canceled every autopay I had set up for their utilities. I changed passwords, enabled two-factor authentication, and audited every place where Helpful Madison had created logins for convenience. Helpful can become a crowbar in the wrong hands. One detail that needed precision years ago: my name landed on a vehicle title for insurance purposes only. Not the loan, only the title. My mother had framed it as a quick paperwork thing. Now missed payments had stacked up. With counsel's guidance, I sent the lender my documentation. The repo truck came quietly on a Tuesday morning and collected a McLaren 720S. It dented Tyler's credit because he was the borrower. Mine stayed intact because I was not. No gloating, just tea and a timestamp. Callie helped me script the public plan in a way that kept me dignified and safe. We built a private Facebook album visible only to extended family. It contained screenshots of the family dinner thread, the lock text with the grin sticker, a clipped segment of the ring transcript where my mother said once it is in our names, and a clean timeline of my payments with dates spelled out. No captions that invited a fight, only facts. For the professional sphere, we drafted an anonymized LinkedIn post about financial abuse inside families, how to document it, and which safeguards help. No names, faces blurred, lessons clear. Behind the scenes, Evan pressure tested my numbers. Paper beats noise, he texted. I answered paper beats noise and silence both. The filings went in. The list pendants landed at the registry like a simple brick in a strategic wall. My attorney set mediation. She reminded me that the goal was remedy, not theater. I nodded. I had no interest in a scene. I wanted keys. Mediation day was beige carpet and a glass pitcher of water. My mother arrived in pearls. Tyler arrived late. The mediator wore a tie with tiny sailboats and asked for opening statements. We went first. My attorney was spare and surgical. For 26 months, my client funded and improved this property, contributing roughly 40% of her compensation, totaling about $450,000 in support and repairs. The other parties changed locks and moved to consolidate control via power of attorney. We are not asking for money. We are asking for the entire house through constructive trust and an equitable lien plus fees and interest as appropriate. Silence. I clicked to a clean dashboard on a small monitor. 3 tabs: transfers, repairs, legal remedies, dates spelled out. The ring transcript rested on the table with a neon flag on the line once it is in our names. The lock text with the grin sticker sat beside it. My mother called me dramatic. Tyler called the camera a violation. The mediator asked whether a front porch is a place with a reasonable expectation of privacy. He did not answer. We took a break. Callie texted a lemon emoji. I smiled in spite of myself and kept breathing. By late afternoon, paper had done what yelling never could. The lease pendants held. Their leverage evaporated. The mediated agreement recognized my equitable interest as full. The judge signed off weeks later. By November, a court officer handed me the keys. Clean title. Remedy, not prize. Consequences rippled. The private Facebook album fractured the family narrative. Some relatives apologized. Others doubled down. I did not campaign for votes. Truth travels on its own. The anonymized LinkedIn post sparked a lunch and learn at work about guarding assets without losing your humanity. HR booked a conference room. I spoke calmly about evidence boundaries and why love needs an audit next to it. 2 weeks after I took possession, my mother left a voicemail from an unfamiliar number. "We miss you, sweetheart. We can talk about sharing the house." I forwarded the audio to my attorney. Our agreement already included a no-contact clause. The court entered it as an order for 6 months, all communication through counsel only. I did not return the call. Dignity is sometimes the discipline not to pick up. Tyler's world shrank in quieter ways. The McLaren was gone. His credit reflected the default. In his friend group, the car became a joke. That part stung to hear about. I did not repeat it. I did not need humiliation. I needed distance. A season later, I closed on a condo in Seaport. Morning light spills across the harbor. I cooked pasta on the first night and ate on the floor with Callie and Evan, laughing about how adulthood sometimes looks like takeout and a perfectly filed binder. I set up the Boundary Scholarship at $50,000 a year for students who pay their own way and still send money home. The prompt is simple. Tell me about the first time you realized you were the net everyone else fell into. Reading those essays felt like opening windows. I see my niece Mia at the park with a cousin sometimes. We talk about books. I keep adult fallout away from her. Innocence does not have to be collateral. Work is steady. My name stayed clean. My credit stayed intact. The story traveled farther than I thought it would, not because I performed it loudly, but because I documented it thoroughly. Looking back now, the arc is simple. Sacrifice, betrayal, awakening, revenge, justice, peace. The lesson is simple, too. Generosity without boundaries invites entitlement. Love without documentation invites revision. Calm is not weakness. Calm is what power sounds like when it is finished apologizing. If you have ever had to choose between blood and boundaries, tell me where you are watching from and what choice you made. Someone reading the comments needs your map. And if you want more stories told with receipts and respect, subscribe. I am Madison, and this is how I learned that paper beats noise, that silence can be strategy, and that the right keys sometimes come from a courtroom, not a kitchen drawer.